Good morning, good morning. What's up, folks? Happy Thursday to you. It is September 12th. JTW here with another FOMO live stream. We've got some economic data coming in. We'll take a quick look at that, and then we'll get to talking about the markets, not only how things are situating themselves from a overall market perspective, but also our trade plan recaps for the trade plans we did Sunday evening to get us ready for this week. We'll see how those are progressing. We'll check in on our trade plans that we did on Tuesday morning's live stream. And then, of course, we will get to some new, fresh, live trade plans that we will do together this morning so you guys can finish up the week strong and be ready for the week ahead heading into next week. So with that, if you have joined us on the YouTube side of life, say hello, chime in, say good morning. Love to hear from you, our friends in Discord. Good to see you guys popping in. Make sure that you've got the chats open, and feel free to go ahead and start dropping any ticker requests you might have in the chat so we can take a look at those. What's up, Navy Plum? Good morning. How are you, buddy? Long time no talkie. Hope you're doing well. All right, so let's take a quick look at this economic data that just came out. We did have PPI as well as jobless claims this morning. PPI came in at 0.2%, so a little high, higher than the previous reading and higher than what the forecast was for that. As far as the month over month, core PPI 0.3, was expecting a 0.1%. So these are inflationary readings. We want those to come in lower. They both came in a little bit higher. So not great numbers from an inflation standpoint. Jobless claims, 230,000. Actual forecast was 231. Previous reading, so a little higher than the previous reading at 228, a little below the forecast, which was at 231. So overall, kind of, I would say, neutral to slightly negative data points there. The jobless claims kind of right in line, pretty neutral. So I don't see anything here, in my personal opinion, that would make me believe that the Fed is going to deviate from its plan to cut rates next week. I think the only question is how much are they going to cut rates. I think by and large the consensus seems to be 25 basis points. Potential for a 50 basis point cut, but I don't think that, just based on sort of my read on how Jay Powell and some of the other Fed speakers who I've listened to lately have been talking, I don't see anybody. Nobody's giving me the vibe that they're strongly or realistically entertaining doing anything more than 25 basis points. I think they definitely want to move the needle on interest rates gradually. And don't want to do anything that's going to totally, or have the potential to totally upend any of the progress that they've made. So, if you wanted my prediction, if I were a betting man, which sometimes I am, I would say, I'd put my money on a 25 basis points cut next week at their FOMC meeting when they announce the rate decision. So, with that being said, let's take a look at what we're seeing here on ES, and we'll get to our trade plan recaps. Like I said, if you guys have some ticker requests that you want me to take a look at once we get through our recaps, go ahead, start dropping those in the chats, whether you've joined us on Discord or are watching on YouTube. What's up, Strife? Good morning to you. How are you, my friend? Good to see you here. All right, so let's talk a little bit about what we're seeing here in the markets. Currently, we see ES, again, how we kind of gauge the momentum and direction and bias of on the S&P. We see kind of an interesting setup here. We did have, and I went ahead and deleted it this morning as I was getting my charts updated for today. We did break through a pretty decent sized supply zone that we had overhead. We just invalidated it, and we seem to be back testing where the top of it was as support, so that's a good sign. However, we're really struggling with this 333 SMA and getting above it. We were testing it right as we got that economic data. Again, a lot of times, as we say here, charts will precede the news. What's up, Sataru? Good to see you. Charts will precede the news. So, not surprising that we're testing kind of a key resistance point, with these SMAs being bearish, 200 being the blue line here, 333 SMA, the red line, 200's running below. They're still generally trending down. This is bearish momentum from an SMA standpoint. However, we are seeing things start to roll over and try to push to the bullish side, creating some buying pressure in that selling pressure. So very mixed right here. We could see a little bit of range before we either see a break back down or a breakout higher. I would imagine that range is probably, or I would say that that range is probably going to be somewhere, yeah, I'd say this 55.85 down to, I'd give it as far as 55.42. So in this range right here, in fact, I'll go ahead and mark this off with like some thicker lines here, just so we can kind of keep track of it as time goes on. Watch this range, maybe play rejections or kind of anticipatory downside moves or bounces within that range as you're watching this. Now, you don't have to do it on ES, SPY, or SPX. You can do it with other tickers that tend to follow the market closely, that may move a little quicker and appreciate your options, contracts a little faster. But again, we're kind of in a mixed area from an indicator standpoint. I could also certainly see from a support and resistance standpoint where we are between a couple of key levels here as well. So watch this range and watch for a breakout in either direction. A breakdown or a break to the upside could bring, I think, pretty good continuation in whichever direction it breaks out once we see one of those key levels give way. So with that being said, what's up, Unknown? Good to see you, brother. Hope you're doing well. Let's get to our trade plan recaps. Tesla, we talked about Tuesday. It had already broken out and was trying to push higher. It did finish up the day Tuesday, pre-market Tuesday at PT3 there, and then broke out, kind of creating another range, another level higher. So, we clearly have gotten all of our targets hit on this one. We did talk about this beautiful back test right out of the gates on Monday's open off of our call entry. It's been nothing but pretty much vertical, with the exception of that pretty hard dip there yesterday, but that dip got bought up and then some. So Tesla continuing to push higher. This plan has fully played out, though. At this point, I'm not going to beat a dead horse. This one was a great setup if you caught that back test off of that call entry level out of the gates there Monday morning. Palantir, this one has been another nice trade. This one I personally am in and am still in. Nice break above, back test Monday morning. Has fought with PT2 a couple of times, but ultimately I think it's going to try to break out and push higher, especially if we can conquer this 35.27 level. Probably, if I remember correctly, was debating between 35.27 and 34.97. Which one of these was going to kind of be the more key level. Weeklies tend to be the stronger levels, but when I'm looking for price targets, you guys have probably heard me say this one too many times. I've kind of, if it's a little bit of a coin toss, or I could see it going either way between, one level or another. Generally speaking, I'm going to shoot one level conservative or closer to the price action, just to make sure that we're scaling out for profits regularly and kind of sticking to our plans and making sure that we're not getting too greedy on some of these trades. And 30 cents on on these contracts is not going to make a whole world of difference. So why not go ahead and proactively take some profits before you see a rejection or a pullback lower, where you could look to re-enter on those profits that you took and ride the next leg up. So yeah, this one looking to break out over 34.97, 35.27 in this range. If we see that breakout, I would expect PT3, and then potentially even higher depending on what the market wants to do. So Palantir's been playing out really nicely after that back test Monday morning. What's up, Chris? Good to see you, brother. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, I guess they've been keeping you busy at work, or I don't know what, man. But we've missed you. Good to see you here. All right, Google. This one did give us a trade to the downside. Monday broke back above the put entry, but never really threatened the stop loss average down before it did ultimately come back and give us PT1 for puts. Couple of, this definitely was a confirmed break. I remember going back and looking at this. I was surprised it didn't make it to PT1 again and give us a double bottom before we made this big kind of check mark looking recovery. But it's now broken out to the upside. Looks like it wants to push for PT1. Potentially a little bit of a fake out here on Google. Again, I kind of have enough positions to manage. So Google, I never personally executed on this week, but um, you know, looking at this in hindsight and always wanting to kind of keep myself, I guess, honest, I could certainly see this being I'm going to replay this trade plan again. And for whatever reason, it came just a little bit short, 147.54. I mean, that's not, at least as far as my standards go, not quite close enough for me to call that a hit. Oh yeah, Neo, we can go back and take a look at that. Oh, we talked about that Monday. Yeah, that one just totally ripped. You're absolutely welcome for that, Ryan. Good to see you back. Hope you're doing well. All right, Restoration Hardware. This one was for unknown reviews, I believe. And so this one has broken out, given us a couple of back tests. Looks like it wants to go for PT1 here at 250.21. They are reporting earnings after hours, so if you're up, I would certainly, go ahead and take profits before we get into this earnings report. There is a confluence that we have right here on the hourly with the bearish selling pressure on Neptune and PT1 kind of sitting right there together. This was a buy the dip plan, by the way, so essentially we said as long as we're opening and holding 240.64, go ahead, get into this thing with a stop loss average down at 233.09, and if we broke below that, then we were looking for downside targets. That didn't really ever materialize, but we should see PT1 here today, I would imagine, based on how things are moving on Restoration Hardware. And again, reminder, earnings coming up after hours, so be aware of that and be mindful of how many contracts you swing, or being, again, maybe more conservative and looking for those base hits and doubles, and scaling out most, if not all, of your contracts for profit before we head into that earnings report this afternoon / evening. IWM, we did this one on Tuesday's live stream. It gave us a break to the downside, back test of our stop loss average down level. So great spot if you got in a little bit early, because this is not a great confirmed break. We're seeing things get bought up. Let's take a look at it on the 5-minute, though. We could have a good kind of teachable moment here if this did look like a good confirmed break on the 5. Yeah, it did look like a good confirmed break on the 5. So if you're looking at that, again, I like to look at the 5 and 15 to kind of gauge things, but this one gave us what looked like a pretty good confirmed break to the downside. This looks like a back test rejection. Ultimately, though, it did get bought up off of this 206.68 daily level, so maybe we shot one level a little bit too close, but our stop loss average down was right where we needed it to be. That's where you correct maybe either a bad plan entry or just a, that looks like a good entry if we're following the plan. So maybe my plan level was a little bit too close, but I think the risk reward on it was correct. Stop loss average down was correct, and that's how you ultimately adjust if we've got our entry level a little bit too aggressive. Stop loss average down is where we rectify that. Took us right down to PT1, and we've since bounced off that. So great play out to the downside, and really kind of a good opportunity to learn how to manage maybe not a great entry by sticking to your plan and letting things work out. As long as the plan stays valid, you're in the trade and executing the moves that you should be executing. Since then, we've seen another breakdown, wonderful back test down to PT2 there yesterday. Recovered all the way back up to the call entry level resistance. Not a great confirmed break here. So still kind of looks like it was struggling. I certainly wouldn't have been jumping into calls that late in the day after, what looks like overall a pretty volatile day that could be shaking things out to either direction. But here pre-market, we're seeing a back test and some support coming in there at 209. So see if we get another test at 209. We also got a small little gap to fill. This is probably close enough. I don't want to, split hairs too much and say that there's still a gap to fill when it's a very small amount left. So I would say this gap is pretty much filled at this point. I wouldn't be paying too much attention to that, but a nice back test of 209 could give us a chance to take this and go ahead and look for those upside price targets. I also like how these SMAs are setting up with some additional confluence of support there at 207.90 for this IWM trade plan. So yeah, this one's played out wonderfully to the downside. Looks like it's ready to play out to the upside at this point. So again, stick to the plans. I was actually watching, played some puts, sold 215 too soon. Oh, you're talking about you're talking about the JPM. Yeah, so this was an interesting one. I mean, this, and I didn't go back and look or pay any attention to if there was a catalyst. Fortunately, what I will say is that, our buy the dip plan said is, as long as we're holding into the open, that 219.19, we'd be looking to buy the dip. Fortunately, before market opened, we got below 219.19, so the buy the dip plan was invalidated, and appropriately so, because as you see, it just absolutely tanked to the downside, and now it looks like it's actually played out through some old downside trade plan levels. It looks like I had a put entry at 205.92 with 3 downside targets here. I didn't quite get to PT3, but tried to hold, back tested, failed, went down lower, but this one's trying to recover. There is an interesting confluence here at 209.87. We do have, again, kind of an old trade plan sitting right here. So I would say, although I'm not sure where our price targets were from before, but I don't know. As I look at this a little bit more, I don't necessarily love it as much, because I think the real entry for calls is actually a little bit higher. That kind of puts us in a range of selling pressure, though. I'll throw it out there, but I hesitate to even say it. Over 209.87, there could be a potential move up to 212.95, but there's a potential issue around this 211.51 area. So just, if you decided to play around with this idea, be very careful. I'm not going to turn it into a full plan, because the more I look at it, the less I like it. So I guess overall, I'd probably say stay away from this. But yeah, what a crazy drop. Was there some kind of catalyst that caused... I mean, I could have just totally missed it. Was it this price cut? Morgan Stanley cuts the price target on JPM to 220. Oh my God. Thanks for that insight and reviews. Talk about foot and mouth disease. Top executive says the stock was overvalued. What a golly. That guy's probably not going to last much longer. It's like the one thing you don't say as an executive of a publicly traded company where stock's overvalued. All right. So with that being said, let's get to some of these trade plan ticker requests that you guys have dropped this morning. Navy Plum. Yeah, top exec fired is right. Navy Plum coming in with IBM over in the Discord chat. Let's take a look at that to get things rolling with our trade plans this morning. Hope you guys enjoyed the review session. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to drop those in the chat, or feel free to DM me if you're in the Xtrades Discord anytime. If you guys have any questions or anything I can ever help with. If you haven't already checked out the Xtrades Discord community, I highly, highly, highly recommend you give it a shot. We have free trials available. Chris, I'm sure you can drop some links or something helpful for our folks on the YouTube side of things who are joining us, that will help them find their way to us and get a free trial going if that's something that they're interested in. But these YouTube streams are out here. We're doing these free of charge to try to give you guys just a little taste of what we do at Xtrades on a day-to-day basis. All right, so IBM breaking out all-time high status, it looks like. Nope, never mind. Well, yep, could still be all-time high status. Yeah, looks like it is. Boy, my IBM chart's kind of a mess. This is not one that I look at all that often, clearly. I'm not even sure what some of this... I mean, I've got some weekly levels in here, clearly, but I don't know why I had this whole area shaded like that. It's when the last time I looked at IBM was. So, you know what I like to do whenever run into something like this where I'm just kind of lost as to what I'm looking at with my own drawings. Sometimes that happens when or maybe in one phase of your trading journey and technical analysis skills and have grown since. I think some of what I was seeing there looked a little bit like JTW of yesteryear, and I think I've better since then. So let's start from scratch, and since we're just trying to find support and resistance at this point, I'm going to hide my indicators. Those are a little bit more for making trade decisions in real time than it is for technical analysis. So let's knock out some levels here, starting big picture, weekly chart, looking for support and resistance. Again, the key phrase there being looking for those levels that have really good tests, have validation tests, both sides of your levels. Eventually, as you do it more and more, you'll develop an eye for it where you just kind of see the levels and know kind of what to do and can find your validation tests after you mark your levels. All right, I don't think we're going to need anything lower than that, at least not for a near-term trade plan. Just want to make sure I'm not missing anything that qualifies as a weekly support resistance level, which I don't really see anything that does. So let's forge ahead. Yeah, definitely. Whoops. Didn't need to hit that. Got something right off this rejection that has behaved well on both sides. Let's zoom in on this a little bit. Yeah, this is a little bit lower. Like that. Okay. The bank's president told analysts that expectations for net interest. Golly, yeah, that guy's got a serious case of foot and mouth disease there. All right, so let's get back to this. I think there's something there, but it's not a daily level. All right, let's get to the 4-hour chart. I think we've got all the higher time frame levels that we're gonna need in that range. Still not convinced on what that level actually is there. All right. Sorry, I'm going to start moving a little quicker here. I just wanted to get some ideas of how this was moving. The other interesting thing that we're going to need, interesting, we've got an all-time high level here. Might just be a hair lower. The other thing we're going to need is some trend-based fib extensions for potential upside moves here. That does look like a pretty solid trend up to there. I would imagine that we're going to find our confluence right about, could be a little higher. Yeah, probably right about in there. That'll give us some targets moving through these levels up here. fix that real quick. Don't want to confuse what these levels are with anything other than fib extensions, potential resistances that have never been tested at this point. All right, let's take a look at the hourly. Let's throw our indicators on. Let's start to hash out this plan. I think pretty clearly, and we'll fill in the blanks as needed. We've got to break through this all-time high. We're up against it. We're testing it. Just move this down a little bit. Let's be a little bit more accurate there. I mean, the only thing we can do at this point is just throw out our fib extension levels over that all-time high to give us our targets. Now the question is, stop loss average down. Did we get any tests through this little range when IBM came up in here previously? I don't think it did get quite this high. I think I've answered my question. Just double check real quick though. All right. So we've got to figure out, there is this pre-market rejection from yesterday that did flip to support. This is pretty thin. You know what? I'm going to do something I don't normally do. We're going to get kind of into what I would kind of term as micro levels. I think we've got an issue or a level below which, if we get into a call entry, I don't think we want to be back below this 207.94. So that sorts out the upside trade plan. Let's go back a little bit bigger picture now that we're figuring that out. I think that also actually gives me a pretty good idea of what I want to do. Again, we're working with price discovery, so these levels aren't nearly as confirmed, validated, established, whatever word you want to use, as I would normally like to see, but it is what it is, right? When you're working with something that is kind of in uncharted waters, you gotta work with what you've got, essentially. Also, I think this weekly level, and we draw these pretty zoomed out, I think it actually sits a little bit more like right there. And with that small adjustment, I think that makes for a good third price target. I don't see anything indicator-wise that disagrees with anything that we've set up. In fact, if anything, I see some confluence validation down here, especially at PT2. So I think this looks good. Let's lock it in as our trade plan. We'll do a quick walkthrough, talk through, and then we'll get another trade plan in the works. All right. So here is the IBM live stream plans. And then I see some chat activity has taken place while I was locked in on the charts there. So I will take a look and catch up on all of that. Give me just a sec. All right, where are we at? Can't wait to see the JPM review. Top exec, yeah. Fell 5%. You, if I can get to it, okay. Or hood. All right, cool. Got caught up. Let's talk about these trade plans for IBM. We're looking for a break of all-time highs around 210.41 to give us a push for some of these fib extensions that we just set up this morning. We're looking at potential targets at 214.79, 218.18, and then 221.58 with a stop loss average down at 207.94. To the downside, we're looking for a break below 205.92. That should give us targets at 202.86, 287, and 198.76. With a stop loss average down at 207.94. Those are your upside and downside trade plans for IBM. One thing I will say to the upside, it may take a little while since it will be going for price discovery for these upside targets to play out. So make sure you buy extra time if the call side of this trade plan plays out to the downside. I mean, always I say have plenty of time on your contracts, but downside could play out a little bit quicker. We've got some actual, measured moves that we can review and see through price history how this is going to play out versus, kind of trying to figure out and hope that we did our fib extensions as well as we normally do them. So with that being said, let's get to the next trade plan. Now, I didn't miss Adobe and then reviews. I'm getting to it next, actually. I saw you in the mix. I just haven't done it yet. All right. So, Adobe earnings coming up. Apparently I did just a few levels on this at some point for some reason. Not very useful, just those few. Looks like maybe we had like a buy the dip plan on it or something. All right, let's get a real analysis on this and a full trade plan on it, shall we? All right, let's see, just get my bearings real quick. That's what I thought. All-time high. Pretty major looking resistance right there. Zoom in on this. Oh, okay. I was like, why do I just have like a couple of weird levels here? Started and stopped. That makes sense. Okay. Yeah, there's definitely a pretty major level right in this neck of the woods. Interesting bounce there. I think it's actually a little bit higher. Yeah, we'll do that. Move mouse. There we go. That's what I was looking for. This is an interesting double top, but can't see what this really is on the weekly just yet. It's another interesting level, but I'm not convinced yet on what it is. Definitely have one here, though. And here. All right. Let's get to the 24-hour. Try to move as quickly as I can here. Let's see if we can't nail down where these levels are sitting. Yeah, this looks like a good daily level to me. It's good back here to figure out if we can see what this is. Just a little bit lower, maybe. Right about there. Interesting level. Alright, so let's continue to map out these daily levels. That looks good. Definitely got something there. Let's see what we've got with this more recent price action. Yeah, right there. Okay, that looks pretty good. I think we got something. Let's go back to this last time we ran through here. Might give us a better perspective. Yeah, I think it's sitting right about here. There's a level there. All right, let's see where that puts us. Yeah, we do have a level here that I don't want to miss. Maybe one right here. Yeah, right about there. Kind of a tight couple little daily levels. I don't think we're going to need to get too detailed on anything too much lower than that. All right, so let's take a look at this. In fact, let's take a look at it on the hourly. Let's get our indicators on. Start to hash this out. Very interesting confluence that just jumps right out there. I was already looking at this as a potential break level. I think Neptune just confirmed it for us. 584.78. Over that, let's take a look at what Adobe did last time it made a move through these ranges. Really interesting kind of breakdown there. Let's take a look at this one. Let's see this on regular trading hours just for a sec. Slightly different perspective on things. But yeah, it kind of confirms what I was looking at, which is I think what we're looking at is a first target right about there. Is an upside. Well, that's regular trading hours, though. I don't get too smitten with that. This looks like a really good second price target. Again, we're kind of filling in the blanks as we look at this hourly chart. Yeah, third price target right there. Let's see our stop loss average down. Yeah, it's right about here. Yep. All right. Good stop loss level there. Whoops. That's what I wanted to do. All right. Downside. Kind of looking at a possible entry somewhere in this neck of the woods. Yeah. That could open up some downside. I think we could share the stop loss average down in that case. With the upside trade plan, I think we've got a first target right about here. Second target, yeah, I think it's right about here. 548.07. Third target, I think this weekly level, I've got it just a little bit low. I think it could be sitting right about here. So let's take a look at this. There we go. Let's set it up so it's easy to see. All right. We're ready to talk through our Adobe trade plans here. We actually finished them this time. All right. Let's get this downside set up. Again, remember, set your alerts, map these levels out, be ready to execute when your alerts fire, wait for confirmation, trade the plan, keep your wins big, keep your losses small, right? All right, here we go. Adobe live stream plans. And then unfortunately, I think we're going to have to cut it short, slightly short. I mean, we're not cutting it super short. This morning, just because apparently my phone's blowing up and I'm getting texts. Wrist surgery recently, and I have a feeling she's calling because she needs help with something. So give her a call back and check in on her, see how she's doing, and see if this is actually something urgent. It's probably not. It's typically not, but that doesn't stop her from calling my phone multiple times in a row. Gotta love your moms, though. All right, so what are we looking at here on the Adobe live stream plans? We're looking for a break over 584.78. That should bring upside targets at 598.09. So potential big move here on this upside plan. On up to 610.13 and then 621.22 with the stop loss average down at 576.84. To the downside, we're looking for a break below 568. That should give us targets at 557.84, 548.07, and 540.17 with a shared stop loss average down with the upside trade plan there at 576.84. All right, with that, I want to thank you guys so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. We've had another excellent week of trade plans. They've played out beautifully. We've had another great week of live streams. I hope you guys will give us a shot. Come check out the Xtrades Discord community if you haven't already joined us. Free trials are available and lots of good content in there. Way more than what we do here on these live streams, including AI picks and all sorts of cool stuff. So with that being said, I want to thank you guys and gals again for joining me this morning. I hope you guys had a fantastic week. Best of luck finishing things out. We will be back next Tuesday morning at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So with that, as we always say here on the FOMO live streams, plan your trades, trade your plans, keep your wins big and your losses small. Go out there and get some green. I will see you guys in the chat. Have a fantastic day. Talk to you guys soon. Thanks again. Awesome, Unknown. Yeah, come join us and make sure that you ping me, say hi, say what's up, so I know who you are once you get into the Discord. Thanks for joining us, brother. I really appreciate you being here every Tuesday and Thursday. It's excellent getting to work with you. All right, so like I said, you guys have a great day. Enjoy the rest of your week. Take care. Talk to you soon.